Scott Peters, thanks so much for taking the time out today to talk with us. Republican incumbent Brian Bilbray said his camp is down at the Registrar of Voters kind of observing the count. Do you have people down there as well?
Yes, we do. I guess that's pretty standard protocol. And first of all, thanks for having me.
Oh, good to be.
Yeah, so it's just normal to observe the process, I guess. So we have a couple people down there, too.
And just to explain to people what you're doing down there, it's not, you're not interfering, you're just literally watching.
Right. You know, I was telling somebody that our registrar, Ms. Seiler, has a reputation as one of the top registrars in California. She's very fair. She runs a good shop. So I guess it's pretty standard protocol for people to be down there and just watch them count.
Have you talked to Brian Bilbray?
I have not.
Not since the election. Okay. We've seen a lot of gridlock in both parties in this election, obviously, throughout the country. How will you, if you end up winning this, how will you kind of bridge those gaps in Washington?
Well, I think a lot about this, Peggy, and that's actually it's something we have to do. And I think one of the messages from this election across the country really is that extremism is not really what Americans are looking for, and certainly not San Diegans. You know, Mr. Bilbray pledged his fealty to the Tea Party and to his pledge not to compromise. But I don't think people really thought that was attractive. They want people to work together. So that's my attitude. That's been my record. I was telling somebody about Elizabeth Warren's answer to this question, which was, first, you hope that this conversation across the country in 435 congressional districts, 33 Senate seats, and the presidential race sends the message that we want people to work together. Second, the people who go take that attitude, which I have, is I'll work with anybody, and I don't hold any grudges about the campaign. I want to make sure that if anyone has a good idea, I'll work to make it happen if it helps San Diego and helps the country. And the third thing is we need to keep the public involved. So if you look at what happened, for instance, when Planned Parenthood and Susan Komen had their split, or had their fight, the decisions that were made were changed within hours because of the involvement through Twitter and Facebook and social media. What if we applied that same kind of pressure to balancing the budget or dealing with climate? We need people involved, too. So that's kind of a thesis that I have about how to do it.
Is there a particular issue that you know for sure you would reach across the aisle for? Is it budget? Is it the 30,000 jobs in San Diego? What is it that you're willing to reach out?
Just about anything. I say, you know, people describe me as a moderate. I don't think you can compromise on human rights issues. So things like a woman's right to make her health care decision, or people's right to marry. I think those are kinds of things where you just hope you're just going to have to fight it out. But on just about anything else, if you want to make a tax code that funds the government, that incentivizes local job creation, and you know, that's a matter of sitting around the table and working something out. I don't think that should be ideological. Or if you want to fix climate, I mean, how are we going to deal with climate emissions or carbon emissions, and how are we going to deal with the effects of that? Whether it's sea level rise or the kind of intensity of storms or fires in San Diego County. That's about a conversation. That's what I like to do, and to reach a solution.
Let's talk a little bit about your campaign. This was across the board it's still a tight race, but it was neck and neck. There were a lot of things said. You said you're not holding any grudges, but are you comfortable with the way your campaign ran, or would you change anything if you could?
Well, I'm proud of the campaign we run. We ran a campaign that was focused on issues. When we hit hard, we hit my opponent's record. We didn't do anything personal. The other thing is we had just a tremendous amount of engagement. I was amazed. I mean, I remember thinking that my campaign manager had rented far too much space. But when it got up to the time of the elections, both the primary and today, we had literally hundreds of people, senior citizens, students, making phone calls, going out knocking on doors. This election day, we staged them from Point Loma, Penasquitos, and Kearny Mesa because we had so many people. So I'm really proud of it. It was obviously a bigger cause than me, but I think we ran an excellent campaign. Really proud of it.
You're in limbo now. Not the first time you've been here.
Yeah.
Is this difficult for you?
I tell people, you know, there's not a lot I can do about it. You know, at this point, there's no votes to get or anything like that. So it's actually, for me, it's just waiting, and I'm finding time to make my time productive. My wife doesn't like it too much. She's very nervous about it, but I'm fine with it. And I'm actually spending the time focusing now on the next step, which is representing the people of the 52nd District in the United States Congress, getting Congress to work better, getting our delegation to work better together, connecting Washington better with San Diego. and I'm starting to think really hard about how to do that.
How are you doing that? Are you calling folks? Have you heard from folks from Washington? How are you doing that?
Gotten a lot of calls from people I've met in Washington, D.C., and from my friends in the county saying, how can we help? How can we be involved? And I'm really starting to think about making those connections and building those bridges and starting to make progress.
As people are starting to get to know you a little bit better, a lot of people have said actually that, you were a city council member and a port commissioner, and now you've jumped to Congress, or will jump to Congress. Well, why not start at the state level? Why'd you make this jump? I
don't know. I mean, first of all, I think that being city council president and being chairman of the port were big things. I promised my wife that I would not run for anything out of town while the kids were young, and my kids are both in college as of about 3 months ago. And this seems like a natural fit for me. I mean, we've worked together to make a lot of things happen locally. If you said one thing to the average person about what Washington needs, it needs people to work together to get things done. And so I think that the background equips me for it. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope to be able to make a difference.
All right, Scott Peters, we're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Peggy.